No, BlackRock CEO just released its annual 27-page letter to investors, and it made a massive Bitcoin prediction. Larry Fink said that Bitcoin will take the dollar's global reserve status if the U.S. can't get its debt under control. When Uncle Larry speaks, trillions of dollars of capital take notice. Today, we're going to be explaining why the world's largest asset manager now believes Bitcoin could actually threaten the US dollar. Anyways, guys, it's going to be an incredible show. With me today is my legendary co-host who's always optimistic, Optimus Fields. And of course, we got D in the house from COINKITE. We're going to be talking all things COINKITE later on in the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, no more delay. Let's jump straight into today's news. So what are we going to talk about? I mean, even Senator Lummis, the Bitcoin senator, has mentioned this report, and we're going to do a deep dive into the report itself. So Senator Lummis says reasons to pass the Bitcoin Act and buy, baby, buy. I love how she's like kind of copying the whole Trump drill, baby, drill, but saying it for Bitcoin, buy, baby, buy. Number one, the Bitcoin Act will help America get our debt under control. Number two, only one nation will have the juice to own enough Bitcoin to underpin its currency as the world's reserve currency or dollar, whatever. The clock and next block are ticking. Let's go. I love how she has like the Bitcoin lingo in her post. It's super, super fitting. So what is she referencing? She's referencing this Blackrock report that actually just dropped, and we're going to check it out. Here it is. The name of the report is The Democratization of Investing. And on page 20 of this report, from the report itself, Opti, if you could drop it in the live chat, it'd be great. Can Bitcoin eat away at the US dollar's reserve status? The US has benefited from the dollar serving as the world's reserve currency for decades, but that's not guaranteed to last forever. The national debt has grown at 3 times the pace of GDP since the Times Square debt clock started ticking in 1989. This year, interest payments will surpass $952 billion, exceeding defense spending. By 2030, mandatory government spending and debt service will consume all federal revenue, creating a permanent deficit. If the U.S. doesn't get its debt under control, its deficits keep ballooning, America risks losing that position to digital assets like Bitcoin. That is very, very interesting. I mean, from a Bitcoiner's perspective, I mean, isn't that the goal, right? The goal is, we want Bitcoin to be the world reserve currency. We want Bitcoin to be the most used currency in the world. But at the same time, it's like, it's interesting, man. Like Bitcoiners are in the room in DC. Obviously we're having influence on policy. And it seems like the agreement right now, I remember Howard Lutnick, who's now Commerce Secretary. He's like, look, as long as Bitcoin isn't a currency and it's a commodity, it's not a problem, right? But if it's seen as a currency, it will be a problem with the politicians. That's how Howard Lutnick framed it. That was on Pomp's podcast. So right now it seems like, both sides essentially could play fair if they stay in each other's lanes, right? Bitcoin, remains this super commodity that also has money-like features and functions and characteristics. And then the US dollar can continue being the world's like transaction currency. And they're using a lot of the whole stablecoin thing to, essentially export the US dollar, the use of the US dollar worldwide. So, but it's interesting that BlackRock is basically saying, look, it doesn't matter how much you export the dollar using stablecoins. It doesn't matter, what you guys do, unless you guys get these deficits under control, it's an inevitability that something will take the dollar's place. Now, if you are to believe what Larry Lepard or like Lynn Alden, if you are to believe what they're saying, and CJ, we're actually going to be dropping that clip for you guys in a couple of days. If you are to believe what they're saying, to use Lynn's own words, there is no stopping this train. Even with Doge going in there and cutting government spending, you can't stop. Like the deficit is so crazy. right? So even if Elon gets his targeted cut of $1 trillion, the US is still deficit spending like $2 trillion a year, right? And just to kind of give you guys a perspective of how much money that is, the total GDP of El Salvador is $32 billion. So the US government spends 1 to 2 trillion more than it collects in tax revenue every single year. And the way that it does that is by printing the difference. So anyhow, here's the Forbes article that's covering the whole thing that happened with BlackRock releasing this report. And it says, quote, a safer bet. BlackRock CEO issues huge $952 billion Bitcoin price warning to the US dollar. That's not a YouTube title. That is a Forbes article, ladies and gentlemen. Bitcoin has surged over the last year, with the Bitcoin price soaring to record highs as a perfect storm of Washington, D.C. and Wall Street collide. The Bitcoin price has dropped back from its peak of $110,000 per Bitcoin reached in January ahead of U.S. President Donald Trump's return to the White House. Now, as top traders bet on looming Federal Reserve flip, the chief executive of the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock, has warned Bitcoin could be eating away at the U.S. dollar's world reserve currency status. Quote, the U.S. has benefited from the dollar serving as the world's reserve currency for decades, but that's not guaranteed to last forever. By 2030, mandatory government spending and debt service will consume all federal revenue, creating a permanent deficit. If the U.S. doesn't get its debt under control, if deficits keep ballooning, America risks losing position to digital assets like Bitcoin. U.S. debt has soared over recent years, topping $34 trillion at the beginning of 2024, before climbing over $35 trillion just a year later. With COVID-era stimulus measures contributing to massive government spending and helping to send inflation spiraling out of control in 2022, inflation of over 10% forced the Federal Reserve to hike interest rates at a historical clip, pushing up debt interest payments and fueling fears of a debt spiral. Quote, to be clear, I'm obviously not anti-digital assets, Fink wrote, pointing to his plan to democratize access to finance and markets with crypto technology. But two things can be true at the same time. Decentralized finance is an extraordinary innovation. It makes markets faster, cheaper, and more transparent. Yet, that same innovation could undermine America's economic advantage if investors begin seeing Bitcoin as a safer bet than the dollar. Fink's warnings echoes similar sentiment expressed by the likes of Tesla billionaire Elon Musk, who last month called the climbing U.S. debt clock terrifying and last year repeatedly warned of U.S. financial collapse while on the campaign trail for Trump. It goes on to say, earlier this month, Fink warned Trump's trade policies will see a return of inflation, dampening expectations the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates through 2025, and invoking the specter of stagflation characterized by an economic slowdown coupled with spiraling price rises. Anyways, I'm going to open it up to the panel. This is crazy. It's so nuts. I mean, it's like two trains going at full speed. And it reminds me of the article, about on the verge of colliding with each other. It reminds me of this article by Alex Gladstein called "Bitcoin is a Trojan Horse for Freedom." And now, what's really interesting about that article is essentially Alex Gladstein was making the case back in like 2021. Like, it was a long time ago. It was like 3-4 years ago. He was making the case that essentially governments, institutions wouldn't be able to resist Bitcoin's number go up technology, and they want to benefit from it. But at the same time, they essentially want to disconnect the freedom enabling technology from the number go up technology, not realizing that both those technologies are inextricably linked. You cannot disconnect the two. So it's just really interesting to me. BlackRock is making a fortune offering these Bitcoin spot ETFs, but simultaneously they see the writing on the wall and they see, listen, with current U.S. deficit spending, this is unsustainable. And when people start losing confidence in mass, by the way, that is the definition of hyperinflation. Hyperinflation doesn't happen because they just print money into oblivion. Hyperinflation happens when there's this mass consciousness awakening of people losing confidence in the currency, and they all start to try to get rid of it at the same time. That's why, you know, it starts to devalue in a very epic and very rapid fashion. So, I mean, I think everyone's starting to see it, not only in the corners of Bitcoin Twitter, not only in the corners of, you know, the economic Twitter. Now it's seeping into mainstream consciousness that the U.S. government spending is completely unsustainable. And by 2030, just the interest payments alone, like that is absolutely nuts. So I agree with Lynn, you know, nothing stops this train. But as Senator Lummis pointed out, I think she has a really, really good point. I think that, you know, the Bitcoin Act could potentially be a way to get America's debt under control. If the US government starts using its money printer to buy something that has absolute scarcity. Michael Saylor, when he made his presentation for the BPI summit, he was making the case. Look, if the U.S. government, you know, buys 5%, 10% of the Bitcoin supply by 2040, it's going to be able to pay off its debt and then some, right? So anyhow, I'm going to open it up. Opti, what do you think? What are you thinking, man? This is pretty crazy. This is pretty nuts. Larry Fink is basically saying, look, if the U.S. keeps going the way it's going, Bitcoin is going to become the global reserve currency. I mean, he's admitting to it.
Well, I find it hilarious. You know, for a while there, we were all talking about, like, does Larry Fink actually believe in Bitcoin? And now he's bull posting to all his shareholders right now. It's like, hey, look, I am not, you know, he's basically saying, like, I'm not endorsing this idea, but this is where it is going. And it is kind of incredible that we're seeing Larry Fink say basically what all of us Bitcoiners have been saying for a long time, that the U.S. debt is getting out of control. And part of that is, you know, that the interest payments on this debt are about to surpass the money we spend on the military industrial complex. Like, if you don't understand what that means, that's insane. We are going to be paying more money on just the interest to our debt payments than all of the war machine that we pay, which is still the biggest one in the world. Like, if you don't understand that this is not financially sustainable, it's really hard for me to understand what you're seeing and not seeing. Because look, he's saying what we've been saying for a long, long time. The U.S. has a spending problem. We have way too much debt, and there's no way to get out of this debt except for either one, transitioning to a new system, aka Bitcoin, or some kind of debt jubilee and, you know, refinancing of this debt, hyperinflationary scenario. Like, one of those is the only way that seems, you know, better for us average everyday people. And the other one is probably going to be very catastrophic here. And I'd much rather see all that wealth go into Bitcoin. But you're starting to see that, hey, if Larry Fink is out here bull posting, or rather doom posting about the debt payments, it's probably something you should take notice of. And I'm guessing that not only all the BlackRock shareholders, but every institutional capital manager right now is looking at this report and being like, okay, I need to have, as Saylor says, a Bitcoin strategy, or at the very least, I can't just be saying that, oh, this Bitcoin thing isn't going to catch on, because it's very clearly catching on. Though there is something that I do want to talk about that wasn't so bullish, in my opinion. Larry Fink in this report also went down the tokenization of all things in there, and that's why he's super bullish on, you know, Bitcoin, crypto, blockchains, etc. You know, just something to keep an eye on.
I mean, to give him a get out of jail free card, right? Like, you know, he is an older gentleman, and I think most people that get into Bitcoin start altcoining first, right? You know, like all roads eventually lead to Bitcoin. Anyways, we do have D in the house. D is from COINKITE. We just recently partnered up with them. They make the best hardware wallets in the industry. I'm holding the Q in my hand, the cold card Q. It's absolutely awesome. It's my daily driver. Incredibly easy to use. Has the whole A to Z keyboard and stuff. It's dope. But it has all the benefits of cold storage. Anyways, D, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
A world are we living in, bro? What the F is going on, right? 6 months ago, we thought we were all going to prison. Now the president of the United States is talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Larry Fink is saying, listen, it's inevitable. Bitcoin becomes the global reserve currency. Like, what world is this? I mean, this is all happening. We all knew this was going to happen as Bitcoiners, but we had no idea it was going to happen this quickly. D, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's ramping up a lot quicker than I think a lot of people are anticipating, and a lot of people are changing their minds about it, right? And Bitcoin's definitely that Trojan horse that is going to take over the legacy system. They can try and pay down the debt with it. I mean, good luck to them. But I think in the end, it's not going to work. All fiat currencies die eventually, and there's only one deflationary currency, and that's Bitcoin. That's the most important part about it, and I think people really are waking up to that, and even the big guys, right? Obviously, one thing that I really advocate for compared to Larry is self custody, and I think it's really important to own your own money so that you don't have to ask permission from anyone. And a lot of people are buying these ETFs, they're buying stocks, they're still kind of stuck in that fiat legacy system. It's a trail, like they're starting their journey. I think it's a good thing that they're at least buying or having some exposure to Bitcoin. But nothing beats real spot Bitcoin in your own custody. And I think people are slowly going to realize that, either via trial by fire, where they get burned and they say, please give me my Bitcoin back, and they don't, or they just figure it out on their own before that happens. But yeah, Bitcoin's a huge black hole. And again, there'll be a time when there's no fiat legacy system to value your Bitcoin in. It will just be Bitcoin. It won't be, oh, Bitcoin's worth $956 billion. It'll just be, this is how much sats something will cost, right? So yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts there. And I think everyone is waking up, and it's just happening a lot faster than I think a lot of people anticipate.
100%. I also want to focus on something you buried the lead, D, there, what you were saying, which is people still have not woken up to the power of self-custody and the importance of self-custody. And what I think I've been seeing really, like, these last couple of like 6-7 months, and I don't want to name any names, but there's been very predominant Bitcoiners that have essentially been like, hey, you know what? I'm actually just going to buy the ETF, right? And if you talk about essentially the centralization of the custody of all this Bitcoin, it's absurd, right? Like, if you add up Michael Saylor's stash versus all the ETF stash, I think it's only one ETF. I think it's only Fidelity that is actually taking custody. The rest of them have it with Coinbase, right? So that is a lot. That's a big ass honeypot. That's a very, very big honeypot. It's asking for people, and it creates a lot of other potential problems as well. What are they?
For sure.
Rehypothecation, selling paper Bitcoin, the potential for an upcoming 6102. I mean, it doesn't take, like, it's just common sense. Like, if Larry Fink is basically saying, look, the US might default in its current trajectory and Bitcoin might take its place, the US government has found itself in a very similar position back in the 1930s. Like, people forget, the 6102 order was kind of justified in the eyes of the state because of the Great Depression, right? Like, a lot of people were hurting. So what do you think is going to happen if by 2030, the US potentially defaults, brings the economy down with it, and they have a giant honeypot, and they have a monopoly on violence, they have the power of the state? What do you think is going to happen to all that Bitcoin, right? Like, I mean, there is a historical precedent for this. Like, this isn't just us speculating, us talking about it. So I think it's never been as important than it is today to really become a sovereign individual and learn how to take self-custody. In the process of learning to take self-custody, you reclaim your financial sovereignty. And unlike gold, that limits what you can do with it because of its physical characteristics, Bitcoin's physical characteristics essentially allow you to theoretically, if you're in a pickle, store millions, billions, and trillions of dollars in your mind by memorizing 12 words. I don't recommend that. Get one of these instead. But if you're in a pickle, it could get you out of a pickle, right? It can get you out of a pickle, Opti.
And I do want to add something, because I did bring up the tokenization of all things. And if you don't think that we're just paranoid Bitcoiners, Larry Fink even said it himself in this report, that part of this tokenization of all things, one thing they have to figure out is digital identities. So, you know, it's coming down the pipeline, guys. You want to custody your Bitcoin. This is the only way, or else we might be in some digital dystopia that we really don't want to be in. So custody your own Bitcoin, take it off the exchanges, hold it yourself in cold storage. This is the only way.
100%. Go ahead, D.
No, I was going to say something to add to that too is some people think it's a little complicated to self-custody, and it's new. It's like learning, maybe not learning a new language, but it's like learning how to drive, right? You don't just jump on the freeway immediately after you get in a car. No, you go in some back roads with your parents, and you help people, or you get someone to help you and teach you, or you go to YouTube and you go to BTC sessions, and he can help you, right? You can use $5 worth of Bitcoin and just learn how to send and receive your Bitcoin before putting hundreds, thousands, millions of dollars on these devices, right? It seems complicated at first, and it's scary, just like a lot of things. But it's, you know, Bitcoin is like a responsibility go up technology, I like to say, and you really got to learn and take the time to understand what you're doing, right? Obviously, if you like I said, you just get in a car and you hop on the freeway, yeah, maybe you get in an accident, right? But if you go on some back roads, or you go in a private driveway, you know, like you take it one step at a time. You don't put all your funds in at once. And you learn, right? You learn how to use these devices and learn how to take self-sovereignty seriously. So, you know, it's just one step at a time. And I think people just miss that. And then they get overwhelmed. And then they're like, no, I'm just going to buy the ETF instead, because I don't know how to do this, right? So I think everyone can do it. Everyone can learn. And it just takes time, you know, do an hour's worth of research, take another hour, whatever it takes. Just learn at your own pace, and you'll get there, right? We were all noobs. We were all there at one point, and now we're here. We've learned, and now we're here helping other people, right? Beautifully said.
Guys, we're going to be talking about the cold card during the culture segment today. One of the best, or the best Bitcoin hardware wallets on the market right now. Bitcoin only. CoinKite's been around for a very, very long time now. And we are big fans of it personally here at Simply Bitcoin. But before we get into all that, and we have a jam-packed show for you guys as well. Saylor continues to try to buy all the corn, bought 22,000 Bitcoin, 22,000. I think he spent like $2 billion or something like that. Absolutely crazy. Elon Musk said the quiet part out loud, talking about shifting the Overton window. Elon has said, "End the Fed." Words are his, not mine. So we have the clip of that for you guys. We're going to be discussing it. And then we're going to be talking about this current cycle. I think what's on everybody's mind. If you compare 2021, 2017, 2013, right now, we should be at $200,000 per coin, or we should be at $150,000 per coin. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. So we're going to be talking about all of those things, guys. It's going to be a jam-packed show. You guys don't want to stick around. But before we jump into it, I do want to give a shout out to Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsor, best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack, bitcoinwell.com. Buy real Bitcoin, enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin on chain or via the Lightning Network in Canada and the USA. To get started, you put in your email address. Takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up. And what makes Bitcoin Well different is that it's a completely non-custodial platform. What does that mean? That means that Bitcoin Well doesn't hold your Bitcoin. As soon as you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. They don't even allow you to leave your Bitcoin on the exchange, meaning it's set up the correct way. Head over to bitcoinwell.com/simply today. If you're a higher net worth individual looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. Invest in Bitcoin, preserve your wealth. You're going to have a dedicated representative from Bitcoin Well. You could book a call with him or her, and every time you want to buy or sell Bitcoin, you can text them, you can call them, you could set up a call with them. It's a more personalized white glove service. Highly recommend. Also, every time you sign up to, every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn something called Bitcoin Well points, and you could use those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest. Every time you toss a coin into the wishing well, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. We're going to do it live for you guys on air. Get your Lightning wallets ready. First person to scan the QR code today has won 2,100 sats. If you use promo code simplybtc, again, simplybtc, to sign up to bitcoinwell.com today, you get 3 tosses into the wishing well. Every toss, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. We have tons to talk about. We will be right back. I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today. All right, everybody, we are back. I do want to give a shout out to the live stream. 1,000 live viewers across all platforms, almost 500. I think we already broke 500 live viewers on YouTube alone. And of course, shout out to the most hardcore audience in the world, the Rumble chat, absolutely crapping on me and Opti every single episode. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. I believe on YouTube, we already broke 100 likes. Yes, we're at 120 likes on YouTube. Help us break 200 likes by the end of today's show. 250 likes. So smash that like button. The 500 of you guys that are watching live on YouTube really, really helps with the algos and pushing this message forward. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $83,000. Optic, you put up my volume. $83,300. Block height 890,280 sats per dollar. 1,200 market cap 1.65 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 7.52%. Percentage issued 94.49%. Decline from all-time high, negative 23.7%. If you're buying Bitcoin right now, you're getting a 23% discount. When Bitcoin reached all-time highs in January, the SBR wasn't true. It wasn't happening, right? We peaked at 109,000, and the SBR was just a rumor. It was a speculation, but it wasn't real. Realized monetary inflation, 0.89%. I remember when me and Opti started covering that number, it was in like the 2 or 3. It's crazy, right? And it's going to go down forever. Anyhow, there is a video of Elon Musk. I believe he is he's campaigning right now. There's a very important election that's happening in Wisconsin to determine which judge. Is it going to be a conservative judge or a liberal judge? That's going to be on the Supreme Court in Wisconsin. And Elon is essentially campaigning over there. He's like offering people like $1 million if they just vote and etc. But someone in the crowd asked him something, which was really interesting. And we've been making the case for you guys for a long time now about the importance of the Overton window and how all roads lead to Bitcoin. All roads lead to the Federal Reserve. Like if you were to just start asking questions like, why is this happening in society? Why are things getting more expensive? Why is the moral decay of society happening? If you look for the root cause of all that, It is broken money. It is inflation. And if you want to see what is the cause, where is this coming from? It's coming from the central banks. It's coming from the Federal Reserve. What the F happened in 1971? What happened in 1913? Why was the income tax established the same year that the central bank established? Why was all these things coincidences? People are awakening. People are coming to that realization, and that Overton window is shifting. That's why you see them talking about Fort Knox. That's why you see them talking about the Federal Reserve. This is great because 10 years from now, right, that political momentum that I've told you guys this quote multiple times, right, that politics is downstream from culture. It will be mainstream. Like the whole idea of questioning the Federal Reserve, it won't be on the hinges. It will be in the mainstream. People will be like, there's something wrong here. I'm hurting. How come I'm not wealthier than my parents? Society as a whole has gotten wealthier, but why can't I get ahead? What's going on here? Anyhow, I have the clip for you guys. Let's play it, and then we'll talk about it.
On behalf of America, for the idiots you have to deal with for what you're doing for us to improve our country. Second of all, my question is, what is your opinion on the Federal Reserve, and do you have any intentions of doing anything with them?
And the Fed. Yeah. I don't know. I always wanted to say that, But I mean, I think there's like 20,000 people that work at the Fed. Seems pretty high. It's like there's a lot of people that work at the Fed, and it seems like, why do we have so many people at the Fed, and what do they do? And sometimes I wonder which one would win. The federal for interest rates, the board of the Federal Reserve, or a magic 8-ball. And I'm like, I think the magic 8-ball might win. So then I'm like, well, magic 8-ball is a lot cheaper. It's like you shake it, it says, check back again later. I'm like, okay. Same thing. But I think what really matters is that government spending is not far in excess of government revenue. That's a fundamental issue that we have, where we have a deficit of $2 trillion, and we have interest payments that now exceed the entire budget of the military. In fact, that was a big wake-up call for me, was when the amount of money that we pay in national debt interest exceeded the Defense Department budget. I'm like, Defense Department budget is very big, and interest is higher than that and climbing. That's a disaster. So the very simple, straightforward goal of the Doge team is to get rid of waste and fraud. It's mostly waste. It's or depending on how, I'd say it's probably 80% waste, 20%.
So again, what you're seeing is the Overton window shifting, right? The acceptable window of discourse, it's shifting. People are asking the question. It's interesting too, because Elon, he didn't say it directly, right? But he somehow connected. Someone asked him, what are you going to do about the Federal Reserve? And somehow that ended up being a pitch towards Doge and the wasteful spending, right? So why is the government able to essentially deficit spend in the first place? Because it's able to print money, right? That's the root cause. And essentially, even if Elon does what he aims to do and cuts the deficit, we're just one popularity contest away from all of that being reversed. The root problem here is not the irresponsibility of government. The root problem is the government's ability to create money out of thin air that the rest of us have to work for. That's the root problem. No one should have that power. And we didn't sign up for that. We didn't agree to that. So we have to end that. And by the way, this has not been around for a very long time. This has only been around the United States since 1971. That's when the fiat money experiment started. But this problem has been happening since like the Roman times. In the Roman era is essentially in the beginning of the Roman Republic, before it transitioned to an empire. If you see the amount of silver per coin, it was called like denarius or something. It was like a very high percentage. At the end of the Roman Empire, the percentage was like 0.00000 something. you can make a very strong case that one of the reasons as to why the Roman Empire fell and degraded the way it did was that they inflated the money supply, just like is happening here in the United States. The only fundamental difference, I think, is that now we have the ability to pivot as a society, as an individual. It's mostly as an individual. We have the ability to pivot as individuals to sound money that nobody can debase. You cannot change the monetary policy of Bitcoin. It protects you. I would say it protects you from the collective. Well, it's very strong, but I'm going to say it. So yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. And then just connect what Elon was saying with what we were talking about during the intro, about what Larry Fink was admitting about the United States, like unsustainable fiscal trajectory. Elon was just talking about it just now, about like just the interests alone that we're paying on a yearly basis, the United States is paying on a yearly basis, is actually outpacing the amount of money that's spent on the military, right? So just connect the dots. All the dots are there for you to be connected. I guess we're connecting the dots for everybody. I don't know, Opti, what do you think? This is nuts, bro. This is crazy. He's saying end the Fed, and when he was asked about the Fed, it was a pitch on unsustainable spending and it was a pitch on Doge. Do you think Elon knows? Do you think Elon knows?
He definitely knows. And like going further, like he definitely knows how or what the solution to all this is. We all know Tesla still holds Bitcoin. Like I think he's playing very coy right now. I think with as everyone in the chat is trolling us, say Overton window one more time, Nico. He's playing very coy with the what?
You should put me on like a soundboard. Overton window.
Well, it's interesting. And look, guys, you know, I've been pretty critical of Musk for the last couple of weeks, but there is a lot of things that I do like Musk doing right now. Obviously, eliminating waste with Doge is great. If Doge somehow is capable, I don't know the technicalities of politics here, but if Doge is somehow able to end the Fed, no. Yeah, so
no, they're gonna need Congress, man, and there's no way there's that.
Yep,
it's an amendment, I believe. I might be wrong here, but like, it's incredibly difficult to just reverse that, man. They're gonna have a difficult time. It's gonna be a hard cookie.
Well, as long as Musk continues to shift the Overton window here and talk about ending the Fed, and it's kind of getting out of our echo chambers of just being, you know, like a Ron Paul libertarian thing. And now we're seeing it's kind of coming out from, you know, some people might argue that Musk is the shadow president here. So now it's officially coming out of the Trump administration that they want to end the Fed. I'm kind of okay with this. I kind of like this kind of rhetoric here.
Yeah. Anyhow, I'm going to pass it on to D. D's a Bitcoiner. So D knows these things. He's thought about these things. D, what are your thoughts on this, man? My question to you is, does Elon know? Does Elon, because it's interesting. What are you going to do about the Fed? And then he ends up talking about irresponsible, you know, deficit spending, and he ends up pitching Doge. So like in his mind, there must have been some type of connection to end up there when you're asked a question about the Fed. D, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think Elon is secretly in the know, right? As a lot of people are, and nation states and people that want to accumulate for cheap. He loves to meme. He loves to divert or, you know, deflect in a way. Doge is even named after that shit coin, right? So I think he knows, right? I think he's aware, and he's accumulating either personally or whatever. And that's what they want, right? They want you not to know so that they can accumulate more for themselves. That's kind of the interesting thing about Bitcoin and these big billionaires, because they know what the future looks like, and they know that if they start tweeting about it or talking about it frequently, more people are gonna think about it, talk about it, buy it, and, you know, number go up, right? So it's kind of like they're trying to delay it potentially, where they want to accumulate a lot. They want to take that time. They want a few years to get their coffers full, and then they'll talk about it, and then they'll start going on campaigns about Bitcoin and sound money and end the Fed and what the solutions are, right? That's kind of my stance there. I mean, obviously, I don't know for certain, right? This is just a hunch, but I think a lot of people are, and a lot of influential people are accumulating They just don't want to talk about it because they want more.
100%. I 100% agree with that take. Anyways, I do like what Opti did on the Friday show with the change up. I like the whole culture news bit. What do you think, Opti?
I don't know. Our numbers are doing pretty good right now.
I want to do that. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to be talking about the cold card self-custody. And then towards the end of the show, we're going to be comparing the different cycles, like kind of just having a discussion on that. What Bitcoin's 4-year CAGR is at historic lows, which I find interesting, and quick updates. Eric Trump, the President Trump's president, has joined. They're going to partner with Hut8. I believe Hut8 is a publicly traded Bitcoin miner, which I find interesting. A MicroStrategy continues to prove that they're essentially beating everyone because of their Bitcoin strategy. So we're going to be talking. It's going to be an interesting discussion during the news segment. But first, we're going to be talking about all things COINKITE, all things cold card, the importance of self-custody during the culture segment. So I'm going to change it up because Opti changed it up on Friday, and I liked how that was. There's a little bit of a change up. We're going to be doing this from now on. We're going to be doing news, culture, just add more dynamism to today's show. So lots of content, lots of stuff to get to. But before we jump into it, I want to give a shout out to the live stream. Shout out to the more than 1,000 of you guys watching live between YouTube and X. And shout out to the almost 100 of you guys watching live on Rumble. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button on YouTube. There's 165 likes. Help us break 200 likes and then 250 likes. So guys, smash that like button. We will be right back. We're going to hit the culture segment. I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint in 2025. And as the first with an AI strategy, HIVE continues to make moves in sustainable, high-performance computing. They consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, and now they're headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're changing the game. You can catch the latest buzz by following them at HIVE Digital Tech or check out their website at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, COINKITE. If you take your Bitcoin security seriously, you'll need the best Bitcoin hardware wallet on the market to take self-custody. That's where Cold Card comes in. The Cold Card Q is the most advanced Bitcoin signing device ever made. It's got a full keyboard, larger screen, and NFC support, making air-gap signing easier than ever. It's built for power users who want the ultimate security without sacrificing usability. And if you're looking for a battle-tested, uncompromising cold storage, the Cold Card MK4 is your go-to with PSPT signing, an industrial-grade secure element, and USB-C. It's the perfect blend of security and convenience. Both devices are, of course, 100% Bitcoin only, open source, and built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Secure your Bitcoin the right way with the Cold Card Q and the MK4. Head over to coldcard.com today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 5% off anything on the store. All right, everybody. In my hand, I'm holding the Cold Card Q. Like I said, incredibly easy to use, but it doesn't sacrifice security in the process. Completely open source, has secure elements. We're going to be asking all these questions in about a second or so. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. You get 5% off anything on the COINKITE store. Head over to coinkite.com today. Use our link in the video description. Scan the QR code. Anyways, I do want to bring up D back on stage. So D, super excited to partner up with you guys. Been a
Absolutely.
big fan of COINKITE for a while now. You guys have two main hardware wallets. Big fan of both. You have the MK4 and the Cold Card Q. Right, the Cold Card Q. Again, incredibly easy.
Hey, don't forget the open dimes.
Yeah, the open dimes are dope.
Right.
The block
Plenty
clock
of
is
products.
dope. I have a block clock, but yeah, go to the block clock because the block clock is super cool. Yeah. So yes, lot of products. I think everyone should have a block clock in their homes. I think it's like a rite of passage as a Bitcoiner at this point. And essentially what it is, it's a physical device, right? Look, it's like this size, and essentially it changes with if the block, you could set it's customizable, right? So
That's right.
if the price of Bitcoin goes up, show you the latest price of Bitcoin, show you the latest, sats per dollar or Moscow time, the market cap, block height, anything you want, you could put it there. It's customizable. It's about this size. And I was so curious too, D, what would happen to the block clock when we went over 100K? And
Right.
essentially, I think you guys just got rid of the dollar, and it was just like, I was like 100.
That's right.
What are you guys going to do when it goes to like 1 million?
You got to buy a new one.
Yeah.
You got to buy a new one. You guys are going to make an extended block clock?
Well, something that you can also look into is, we have other currencies besides the dollar on there, right? So check it out in Japanese yen or something like that have a higher denomination, and you'll find out, right? So
okay.
That's right. Yeah, it's not just US dollar. So yeah, I think those are really cool. Obviously, those aren't our security cold storage device. It's more of a fun Bitcoin product that you can display all your units of whatever you want to display on there. All the currencies, or yes, the Bitcoin price, whatever currency you want, block height, things like that.
So
we also offer. Yeah, go ahead.
So let's talk about the two hardware wallets that you guys offer,
Absolutely.
right? With the Q and
Sure.
the MK4. What are the difference between the two?
Yeah, for sure. So they both have the same security, meaning that they both have two secure elements that basically keep everyone out. You basically, they're basically impenetrable. These two secure elements are from two different manufacturers, as well as our MCU board. That's what you'd have to break through, basically 3 layers to even try and crack the pin to get into the device. And the differences are the Q is kind of an upgraded version where it has that full QWERTY keyboard. It has a QR code scanner. It has upgraded NFC, things like that. So both devices are fantastic and highly recommend both. I sometimes like the MK4 because it's a little slimmer. It can fit in your pocket. It's not as bulky, right? The Q has that QR function where you can scan Nunchuck or Sparrow to sign a transaction, and then you can show it to your screen, and then basically import that PSBT, which is a partially signed Bitcoin transaction, and broadcast that if you want. There's just plenty of options, and just more of an upgraded MK4. Same security, so nothing like that where, oh no, I need to upgrade because I want better security. Still same security, still a rock solid castle to store your Bitcoin.
So let's talk about the So you mentioned a lot of things there, right? So
For sure.
let's try to unpack them. So could you talk to us a little bit about what do you mean about the secure element? So you have two different manufacturers. What does that mean? Why should someone what is the purpose of buying this, right?
Right.
Like you let's say you have Bitcoin, let's say you have it on exchange. Like, why should you buy? Why should you spend a couple $100 on a Q or an MK4?
Of course, yes. So basically, a hardware wallet or the cold card Q or MK4 is like a Swiss bank account in your pocket. It has military grade security, where basically you cannot get into this device. The reason why you want something that someone can't get into is so that you can't be hacked or you can't have your funds stolen, obviously. So having the top of the line secure elements helps you do that. Think of it like a black box or like a labyrinth where there's a billion paths and you have to figure out how to get through that labyrinth to infiltrate that device. These secure elements help you do that. And the fact that there's two from two different manufacturers aids in that, where instead of just one, you need to break through two plus the MCU. So basically just stacking security on top of each other, making sure that your Bitcoin is as secure as possible.
Gotcha. And then let me ask you something else too, right? So, okay. So there's a bunch of different ways to sign a transaction with these, right? There's the SD card. There's the QR signer, which I think is one of the easiest, in my opinion. Then there's NFC, which is essentially tap. If you guys have ever gone to like a proof of sale, if you ever like a 7-Eleven, you're trying to pay for something and you want to
Apple
use your
Pay.
iPhone, Apple
Yeah,
Pay,
yeah.
that's
There you go.
NFC.
Yeah.
And then there's the USB-C. If I sign a transaction using USB-C, is that insecure?
So I would say it's still very secure, but it is less secure, right? So think of it like the USB stack has more vulnerabilities to it. If you sign something via USB, it's not the end of the world, but it is less secure than scanning a QR code, right? You want to be able to read what you're signing, and by scanning a QR code or importing it via SD card, you know exactly what you're signing. And even on the Q screen and even on the MK4 screen, before you sign anything, it says, where are you sending this Bitcoin to? Here's the address. How much are you sending? And what's the fee rate and the change address and all those things. So that shows up on a screen and on the cold card screen, so that you're ensuring that you're signing what you want to sign, right? If it says, hey, I'm signing all your Bitcoin away to this random address that I don't know, then hey, maybe I'm not going to sign that message, right?
So
So it's really important to have that.
What are the vulnerabilities with like USB-C signing? Because I feel like that is like the majority of people are using a hardware wallet, right? They're not using SD cards. They're not using NFC. They're using USB, like USB, whatever, to plug in their hardware wallet. Like, what are the vulnerabilities there? Is it a vulnerability on the device itself? If you plug in the device into a computer, is that potential like the computer, is it uploading malware into device? What are the actual vulnerabilities there?
Yeah, it's more like, say your computer was compromised and you now have a direct line between you and your offline device, right? We have a saying or a phrase called um, air gapped in Bitcoin, where you do not want a direct line like that connecting your device to your computer. It's not like the device will actually ever give up any important information. There's been no evidence of that ever. But in the future, that could possibly be a thing, right? Security is a moving goalpost, and there are consistent upgrades and malicious things that people do to computers and devices to grab what they want, which is your Bitcoin. So having that layer or that defense of air gapped, where you don't have a direct connection into your computer, is extremely important, just to kind of future proof yourself, right? It's not that you will get hacked or that will happen, but just being prepared is always better than not, right?
Gotcha. And what differentiates yourself compared to other hardware wallet manufacturers? Like, why should people trust you guys? Like, why should people get a cold card compared to, you know, all the other manufacturers that are out there?
Yeah, we have a saying that don't trust, verify. So you don't need to trust us, right? We give you the device with an upgrade or two out of date, so that you yourself can verify the firmware yourself before flashing it to the latest upgrade. There's also the secure elements, and the hardware is all online on GitHub for you to view, fully auditable for the end customer, so that you can make sure that what you're running on your device is actually what we say is running on it, right? And again, you can upgrade it yourself. We don't push any upgrades by ourselves. You are the one that will do that, because we don't want to push a malicious upgrade on you. There's been evidence of other companies that have done that, and it's not good, right? We also have a lot of feature-rich things on our device, like trick pins, like those anti-phishing words. So when you sign into your device, it will say 2 anti-phishing words, and if those words are incorrect, you know that your device has been tampered with, and that you should not log into that device. We have our 2 secure elements rather than 1. Things like that. Those are what's really important. Even our device itself is fully transparent, right? You can see exactly on the device what components it's made out of. There's no chip out of place. There's nothing like that. And if there was, you'd know. So that's kind of really important. And full of advanced features like brick me pins. A brick me pin is basically like if a guy has a gun to your head and you don't want to let them in, you can put in a different pin and completely brick the device and render it useless. You know, that's a advanced feature of our device, and we recommend, you know, leaning into that slowly. But those are just some of the many things that we offer.
Yeah, and then also I want to talk about this too, right? You mentioned that it was transparent. I'm gonna make myself full screen. So this is a back. On the back, it has a little thing that says "shoot here." What is that, D?
Yeah. That shoot here is, those are the two secure elements. So if you ever want to dispose of a device properly, you can either shoot them with a gun, or
No,
you can drill.
hold on. We're on
Yeah.
YouTube.
For sure.
Metaphorically.
Metaphorically speaking, yes, of course.
Metaphorically. Metaphorically.
Yes,
And in
metaphorically
self-defense.
That's right.
Because your
you
life is at danger metaphorically.
Yes. Apologies. You can use a drill, right? You can use a drill and drill into those secure elements so that your seed and everything that is important is totally lost. There's no way to recover that. And hopefully you have a backup in a totally different location, you know, really far away. Right. So it's really important that we put that there, and so that people know how to dispose of these devices properly. Yeah, because you could toss out your hardware wallet, and 3 years later you're like, what happened? Like, how did I lose money? And it's because someone may have picked that up in the trash, and maybe it didn't have a secure element on it, or it had a weak one, and they got into your device and took your seed phrase. Right. Your seed phrase is the most important thing. And you really need to keep care of that. And this is one way to do it, by drilling into those secure elements so that the seed phrase is completely wiped from the device.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, Nico, I got one. This might be the way to end this and go back into some bullish news here. But we have a great comment in the chat, and I think this is one of the things we see constantly with people. So I don't want to put you on blast because it looks like it's your full name. But someone in the chat said, I still need to do my self-custody. I have my Bitcoin on multiple exchanges. So I think we need to just go back to basics. Why do people need to have a hardware device, or basically get their Bitcoin off exchanges into self-custody?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the first sentence of the Bitcoin white paper is a peer-to-peer electronic cash without financial institutions, right? So if you're holding your Bitcoin with a financial institution, you are still kind of stuck in the legacy system where you have to ask everyone or them permission to move your money. If you go to a bank and ask to move it, or to withdraw, you know, $20,000, they're going to say, what the heck? What do you need that for? Why? And they're going to KYC you up the ass, and it's going to suck. So if you don't want to ask permission, and you want to take custody of your own money and move it yourself and never have to ask permission, it's really important for you to self-custody, and Coldcard can help you do that.
Amazing. Love that. Love that. Guys, go to check the link in the video description, or scan the QR code on your screen. Remember, not your keys, not your cheese. Get yourself a Coldcard Q or the MK4. Big fan of both. Love these hardware wallets. Use them personally. Yeah, go check them out, guys. And of course, get yourself a block clock. I think every Bitcoiner should have one at least. You'll start to notice that. Not at home right now. We're in Dallas for BitBlockBoom. We're going to be here for the rest of the week, but you'll see that in the back. Go ahead, D, hit it.
Just one more thing. Someone asked, you know, how do you know that my private key isn't, or my seed words aren't like pre-generated, right? And you can actually go on our devices, and we offer this thing called dice rolls, where you can roll dice and you can enter in all the inputs. You know, you roll it 99 times to get 256 bits of entropy. I know, big words, but that's what you need to create a 12 or 24 word seed. And you can do that on both devices, right? If you had two devices side by side and you entered in the exact same inputs from those dice, you would get the exact same seed words. And that's really important, because if you didn't, then you'd have a pre-generated seed. So I think that's a really cool way for people at home that may not be super technical, and they can't really audit the entire firmware for themselves, and they have to, quote unquote, trust a little bit more. They can do that seed, or they can do the dice roll function on two devices and see, oh wow, I get the same seeds on both devices. I think that's a really cool way to verify.
Absolutely. And then also to you guys, like, you can, like what I personally do to generate a, because I'm a paranoid mother effer, because I've been in Bitcoin for a long time. I literally have all 2,000 something words, and I literally scramble them, put them in a pot, and mix them manually, and just pick out one word by one, and then put it back in, scramble it manually, and put it back in, and then those are my 23 words. And I believe like the cold card or something generates I don't know what the
checksum.
The checksum, right?
That's
so
right.
I'll pick me manually the first 23, and then I think the checksum will give you a bunch of options of what.
Yeah, there's probably like 4 options to choose from with a 24 word. Yeah,
correct. And then that's what I personally do, because I'm a paranoid mother effer, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do I want to do this completely offline. But you can essentially import that seed into the cold card, and then that will be your seed. So there's different. You could use the random number generator on the device. You could use the dice roll method, as what D was referring to. So there's a bunch of others. Some people are already fans of it. We have Andrew in the chat. Dice rolls are awesome. That was so much fun, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a bunch of, it's all up to you. That's the whole point. It gives you a bunch of variety on how to protect your Bitcoin, on different if you're in different types of situations, right, where you just want to break your device, a decoy, whatever. It gives you all those things, right? It's a big rabbit hole. So go check out Cold Card. Use promo code Simply. Again, you get 5% off anything on the store. We recently just partnered with them, and happy to have D on the show today, guys. We still have a ton of content for you guys. We have a bunch of news that we want to get to. Michael Saylor continues to want to buy all the Bitcoin, for better or for worse. And I think we already covered the Eric Trump news. And then we're going to be talking about this recent cycle, which I think has a lot of people concerned. I would say is, it gives you a longer opportunity to stack cheaper sats. So anyways, guys, we're going to hit the news segment. We will be right back. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Casa. Bitcoin security matters, but managing private keys can sometimes be complicated, especially multi-sig. What if you can secure your Bitcoin without worrying about losing a seed phrase or giving up custody? With Casa, you can completely control your Bitcoin with multi-key security, so even if one key is lost or stolen, your funds stay safe. No single point of failure, no stress. That's what I absolutely love about these guys. They make taking Bitcoin into self-custody incredibly easy with their best in industry user experience through their app. I've been personally recommending Casa for years now to my friends and family because they will get all the benefits of multi-key self-custody security without the hassle of having to learn complicated UI. And if you're thinking of one day passing on your Bitcoin to the next generation, their inheritance plan has you covered. Also, if you're a business looking to add Bitcoin to your treasury, do it the secure way with Casa for Business. To get started, go to casa.io today and get 5% off Casa Standard or Casa Premium with promo code SIMPLY. Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledin has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally have not only an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledin is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to hodl while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you. Check out ledin.io today. All right, everybody, we are back. Let's get into today's news. All right, so I'm going to start off with this, just because I know this is on a lot of people's minds, just based on just the general feeling on it's so weird saying Bitcoin X. It's not Bitcoin Twitter anymore. It's Bitcoin X.
It'll always be Twitter in my heart.
It'll be Twitter. Yeah.
Well, this is the general consensus on Bitcoin X or Bitcoin Twitter. Bitcoin and this is Gordon, altcoin Gordon, says Bitcoin and Ethereum are closing Q1 with the worst returns in 7 years.
Can you zoom in more? Oh, I can't.
Bitcoin and who cares about the Ethereum one?
Yeah.
Let's just focus on this one. Bitcoin quarterly returns again. The worst return in 7 years. This is what we're all feeling right now. This is why you're like, wait a second, price should be way higher. What's going on? This is what's going on. Now, if you actually compare the like different eras, right? The red line is the current era. The orange line is the 2017 cycle. The green line is the 2021 cycle. And then the blue is the 2013. If it was like the green, we already made Bitcoin already peaked. We already peaked right now. We're in the process of the denial phase, right? We're like scratching like, nah, it's going to go back up. It's going to go back up. But 109, that was the peak, right? That was the peak. Now
Nico's officially a bear, guys. Let's get him off the show.
To be fair, the macro conditions have never been like this on all of Bitcoin's previous peaks, right? And for better or for worse, Bitcoin right now has become a macro asset. Its market cap is huge. You have BlackRock involved. You have the US government that wants to get involved. So it's very correlated to how the NASDAQ is performing, how the S&P is performing, and both the NASDAQ. I mean, Tesla's stock has dropped like 50%. It was something wild since Trump's inauguration. So Bitcoin currently is being treated like a risk-on asset, even though we all know it's a risk-off asset, but it's being treated as a risk-on asset, and it's reacting to the macro environment. When Bitcoin was much smaller, that wasn't the case, right? When the market cap was a lot smaller, that wasn't the case. When Wall Street wasn't involved, it wasn't the case. But now that Bitcoin's this big and it's maturing, it totally is the case, at least from a price perspective. Now, the good news is, as soon as the macro environment starts to become more optimistic about the future, Bitcoin is going to be the thing that's going to be outpacing everything else in terms of performance. Right now, people are still skittish because of the whole the tariff talk coming out of Trump. People are skittish just in general. I mean, look at for a company the size of Tesla, for it to drop 50%, bro, that's not that great, right? So just in general, the macro environment isn't that great. And this isn't Bitcoin of 2017. Bitcoin is heavily, it's just become a much bigger asset, and just the macro environment will affect it. And unfortunately, it's just happening during what we normally would experience as the kind of euphoria phase of the cycle. So this is kind of unknown territory. Are the cycles over? Are the cycles over? That's another thing. Are the Bitcoin cycles over? That's a question for you guys. Is it just going to be like, it's just going to go up and to the right slowly? And this whole, boom and bust type of thing that's happened in Bitcoin's early history, are those days behind it? I mean, from a simply Bitcoin's perspective, that's great, right? Because bear markets are, oh my God, it's just, viewership disappears. Like, in fact, the whole industry is kind of tied to the price of Bitcoin. Like the miners, the exchanges, like price of Bitcoin really, affects everything. And I'm positive on the COINKITE side with D, like in a bull market, I'm positive you guys make more sales, right? Just
they also dump on us too, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly. So like it just kind of, it is the way it is. Our whole industry is kind of, now the pro is the volatility of our businesses wouldn't be as great, but of course you don't get those crazy movements. But look, I'm saying all of this, and we still saw Bitcoin go from 16K, I believe that was the bottom, right? 16K to $109,000. So that's no small feat, right? It's a big, big jump. Someone in the chat says 30% correction cycles aren't broken yet. Still the same as always, maybe less volatile lows as more buyers in market. Here's Pierre Richard. And again, a little bit of a kind of depressing, but I know it's on everyone's mind, so I want to talk about it. Bitcoin's 4-year CAGR is at historic lows because the Fed raised interest rates. Bitcoin is still growing. It's just slower until USD monetary policy materially loosens. This is a competitive global currency market. Now, that's the crazy part. And it's something that I think us Bitcoiners have been talking about lately. It's like, yo, like, I remember when I got into it, it was like, you know, we'll be your guide through the separation of money and state, Bitcoin separation of money and state. And like, here we are in 2025 and we're like, yo, SBR, it's happening, bro. The president just said he's going to buy Bitcoin. Like, you know, Daddy Fink to the rescue, baby. Like, you know, so it's just funny. But again, I think it's just the asset class has matured. It's become a lot bigger. It's become, you know, a global player. And this is what Pierre Richard is mentioning. But here's the truth, right? Bitcoin's 4-year CAGR, 13.3%. It's a great return, but definitely not what we're used to, right? Now, to be fair, and someone did mention this, the Burner 7461 said 4-year CAGR is also susceptible to timing idiosyncrasies. March 2021 was a parabolic upswing. CAGR looks much more reasonable on a multi-year moving average or other smooth curve. So yeah, to be fair, right? Because again, like it looks like this now, but what if, you know, by year's end, we're at 250K Bitcoin, this number is going to completely change, right? And again, it's something to pay attention to. Again, is the raised interest rates of the Fed. A lot of people are speculating that Trump is talking about all these tariffs to essentially dump the economy, to force the hand of the Fed to lower interest rates and to make money printer go burr again. Or at least that's the theory. So it's just interesting though, that like we're, as Bitcoiners, we're essentially cheering for, we're like the rest of the market, like waiting to see what the Fed is going to do. Like that to me is interesting. Anyhow, other news as well.
Wait, Nico, can I chime in here? Can you go back to that first chart? The altcoin Gordon one, because I think there is an interesting note here. So the headline sounds really bad. You know, Bitcoin's worst performing Q1 in 7 years. But if you look at the difference there, the 2018 one is the one they're talking about. It was negative 49%, right? We obviously didn't get that in this Q1, but if you look at the closest Q1 worst performance, it would be 2020, which is the negative 10.83%. Now look at what it did the rest of the year. Obviously, we all know 2021 top was going into a bull market. So if you kind of, you know, get some parallel, here's obviously history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. It looks like we might be getting a super bullish Q2, Q3, and Q4 of the rest of the year. So I don't know. We're doing a 2018 type cycle here because we didn't get negative 50%. We're kind of in this negative 10 range. So it looks like the rest of the year, if we're following that, it's going to be bullish.
What if it's just red for the rest of the year?
Oh, that would suck.
Oh man, that'd be terrible.
A buying opportunity.
Like we peaked already, bros. Just get used to it. Just get used to it. We peaked.
All right, wait, hold on. How do I boot Nico from this camera angle?
D, do you want to chime in before we move on to the next news story?
For sure. No, all I was going to say is every dip is a buying opportunity. And, you know, I know, obviously, you know, people have their mask on like, yeah, it's going down so I can buy more, but they're crying behind, you know what I mean? Like that meme, like,
can you pull up that meme, dude?
Please. But, you know, it's a win-win, right? It goes up, we make, you know, it's more valuable. If it goes down, we buy more, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not too worried about it. I'm here for the long haul as you guys are. So I know we're not really fazed by it.
Put crying. I think it's crying Wojak or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
yeah.
it's definitely a 23% discount. It like depends on how you see the glass. But look, guys, I'll be honest with you. Like, it is what it is. Like, you know, if we should be at 200K by now. Like, I mean, and I remember I interviewed Samson Mao at Mining Disrupt. I dropped the clip over the weekend, but it seems like a lot of you guys watched it because it got a ton of views. You know, we should be a lot higher right now. And I think it's just because of the macro monetary environment that we're not. And that's a little bit bittersweet. And the reason for that is, why does Bitcoin care about the macro monetary environment? Number one. And number two, it's kind of like, wait a second. So like we're, as Bitcoiners, we're cheering the Fed number to go up. Like what's going on? So anyhow, so yeah, that's the first bit of news. Wanted to give an update on that. I agree with D, you know, long-term, not worried whatsoever. Number goes up. It's infinity divided by 21 million. The other news is Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor smash bought $1.92 billion of additional Bitcoin. Business intelligence company Strategy continued stacking sats. That's not stacking sats, bro. That's stacking cornfields. Stacking cornfields by acquiring 22,000. That makes me really depressed. 48 Bitcoin worth nearly $2 billion. According to a March 31st SEC filing, Strategy purchased the coins for $1.92 billion last week, or around 87,000 per Bitcoin. This boosted the company's total Bitcoin treasury to 528,185 for $35.63 billion. At Bitcoin's current price of it's so crazy. Elon's net worth is like 500 billion. That's so nuts. At Bitcoin's current price of approximately 82,000, Strategy's holdings are now valued at over 43 billion. Michael Saylor continues aggressively accumulating Bitcoin. This recent buys were funded mostly through issuing 1.2 billion of new MSTR common shares by buying Bitcoin funded via equity. Strategy converts its corporate treasury from dollars into hard assets. The company has pioneered using its balance sheet as a leverage play on Bitcoin's rise. Strategy's average price per Bitcoin has steadily increased to 67,458. What do you think happens if we dump to 67K, bro? Oh my God.
He'll stack more.
Oh my God. Yeah, he'll be underwater though. He'll be underwater.
Dude, lower your cost basis, Saylor, and stack it even more.
He'll be underwater, dude. Oh man. Okay. Well, yeah, guys. So Saylor bought $1.92 billion worth of Bitcoin, 22,000 Bitcoin, which I find interesting to say the least. And I think big news here, we always talk about the importance of alignment of incentives. Hut8, publicly traded Bitcoin miner, I believe, says, we are proud to partner with Eric Trump. This is President Trump's son, and American data centers to launch American BTC. American Bitcoin, a majority-owned subsidiary of Hut8, aims to become the world's largest, most efficient pure-play miner while building a robust strategic Bitcoin reserve. So I find that interesting. You have the president's son essentially partnering up with a Bitcoin miner. And also here, Bitcoin shines a beacon of orange hope, illuminating a path in the sea of red turbulence. So nobody has been immune to, again, the macro environment. I'm going to say this again. The overall macro environment has not been great. This is the reason as to why we believe Bitcoin has not gone up the way it historically has in the past, because Bitcoin is such a large asset these days. The macro environment will affect Bitcoin's price because it's that big. I think that's a good thing. But obviously, you know, if you're used to those dopamine hits of the past, you know, you start to get withdrawals like Opti right next to me. So Strategy, I love the rebrand. Bitcoin shines a beacon of orange hope, illuminating a path in the sea of red turbulence. So there you go. I mean, Tesla down 37%, Nvidia down 21%, Google down 18%, Amazon down 14%, Microsoft down 12%, Apple down 12%, QQQQ down 9%, SPY down 6%, Meta down 2%. MicroStrategy is actually up 1% despite the downturn in just the overall market. I will say, I mean, Tesla down 37%. Holy cow. It seems like a lot of people are blaming Elon for what's happening with Trump in general. So I don't know if you guys want to chime in on this, but that's the news for Monday, man. General kind of market update. Eric Trump on, starting a Bitcoin mining venture. MicroStrategy buying 22,000 Bitcoin. And despite the downward, just general market sentiment, MicroStrategy continues to outperform because it has adopted a Bitcoin strategy. And if you are to believe a lot of the rumors that are floating on Bitcoin X or Bitcoin Twitter, depending on how you want to say it, it seems like other public companies are going to follow in the footsteps of MicroStrategy, especially after its performance over the last year. And I mean, look at the performance of MetaPlanet. I mean, this is essentially a zombie company coming out of Japan. It was a hotel company on the verge of bankruptcy. They adopted a Bitcoin strategy and they 48x'd their stock in 365 days. That is gnarly. That is absolutely crazy. So anyhow, Opti, do you want to chime in? Then we'll get D's thoughts and then we'll wrap up the Monday show.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and guys, we're going to drop it. I don't know at what point, but we did do a great interview with CJ, our boy CJ Constantinos over at Mining Disrupt. And I think he laid this out really well. It was a long interview. I think we're going to put the whole thing up for you guys. We did it backstage. So he'll break down all of this going on. But the TLDR that I'm kind of taking away, and him and Larry Lepard had a great speech, is just a general uncertainty in the markets right now. This Bitcoin is...
Larry said we're going to dump.
Yeah, Larry said it's over, basically. Larry's probably the most doomer guy out here right now. He's like, there's no way this is going to get fixed. But I think what we're seeing is obviously Trump is trying to do some things to the economy. Essentially, from most of the consensus around there, he's trying to force the Fed's hand to essentially, go under Treasury right now. And of course, that is wrecking European markets right now. So it looks like, Trump is trying to bankrupt the EU and force the Fed to get under the Treasury right now. And this is what the general concern is right now. But we're also seeing apparently, Liberation Day or whatever the meme is, 2 days from now, April 2nd. We'll see what happens. But this general tariff policy, yeah, obviously. But this general tariff uncertainty we're seeing, obviously the markets are very volatile. Bitcoin is usually one of the markets that acts the quickest. We all know it's a 24/7 liquidity, and therefore it reacts probably before other markets happen. And therefore we're seeing just general uncertainty in global economics right now. Global macro markets right now, we're seeing a lot of uncertainty. Obviously, Bitcoin is the most liquid asset, but just peppering in some hopium here. I do like this chart right here. And I'm going to show you this.
Pepper it in.
This is some speculation, but I like this. And let's see if this plays out. We're going to go there. Let's see if this plays out. Bitcoin basically lagging behind M2 global liquidity. And if this continues to play out, it looks like maybe, in a couple of weeks, we're going to see some Bitcoin pumping. The more money printer goes burr, the more Bitcoin's going to rip. So I don't know. I'm going to just pepper in some hopium for myself in the chat right now.
Pepper it in.
Here we go. If you're in audio, it's a
no. So what Opti is showing for the audio listeners is essentially that we're theorizing. This is going around on X or Twitter. That it seems like there's a heavy correlation between the M2 and the Bitcoin price. And
it's identical for the audio listeners.
Yeah, it's
by a lag like 2 weeks.
It's strongly correlated for sure. It would be weird if it was a coincidence because it does look very similar. But essentially, if the trend continues, it seems like Bitcoin is lagging the M2. But the M2 just had a recent very, very big surge. So if that were to continue, if Bitcoin falls in its footsteps, you might see another explosive move to the upside coming soon. So we shall see. Again, this is kind of speculation territory, but Opti does want to end Monday.
Hey, it's Monday. Let's give some people some hope here.
On a hopeful note. Anyways, I'm going to give the last words to D. D, thank you so much for joining us on Simply Super happy to partner up with you guys over at CoinKite. Big fans of your guys' products. What are your final thoughts, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for hopium, so I'm with Opti here. I love it if it goes up, but you know, I'll buy more if it stays down. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, we're very excited to be with you guys, and you know, I'm the customer support representative over at CoinKite. So if you ever need to get in touch with us, feel free to reach out to support@coinkite.com or send me a DM over Twitter X. Yeah, so if you need any Bitcoin only hardware wallet solutions, or want to pick up a block clock, or on any of our other cool products like Open Dimes, Tap Signers, Sats cards, T-shirts, and things like that, you know where to find us, and we're super happy to be working with you guys.
Absolutely. Well, D, thank you so much for joining us, guys. Go check out coinkite.com, promo code simply 5% off. There's a tap card. Is there a Sats card?
Sats
Yeah.
Card. Here, I'm gonna take
That's
it from
like
Opti.
for all the gold bugs that want physical Bitcoin.
Oh, look at that right there. So they have tap cards, and you just tap it.
And Nico, I definitely need that back.
It may or may not have some Bitcoin on it.
May or may not have Sats on it.
Stealing it from me. So guys, if you guys enjoyed today's show, smash the like button, consider subscribing, and we love you all. We'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.